we learned two very useful and very important functions in this video. You see, when you have a string, you can split the string. So for example, let's say we have brown and fox, it doesn't matter. If you want to split this string and to separate it on the space, you just have to use, so it's a string because you can see these quotes. It could be single quotes, we use double quotes. So as it's a string, it is provided with a split function, and you can decide where you want to split this string. So let's decide to split it at the space. So now if you split, you will end up with an array of two strings, brown and fox. If we had three words, so I use the up arrow to call the last line of code, brown, fox, let's say funny. It doesn't matter, we can put anything. We would end up with three words. So this is how we split. The other function we will need in this video, remember that for every movie we have this date. And this is a form of date that is very convenient to computers and also to humans when you know how to read it. You see, we have first the year, then the month, then the day. Then we have this T that separates the date and the hour. And you can see this is an hour because in Europe we count the hours from 0 to 24. So to us 13 is 1 p.m. So this is 1 p.m. 1 is 13, 56 minutes, 17 seconds, and then you have even milliseconds. So what we want to do, we want to take a date, because this, when you click on this calendar, the date that is returned has this format. So it's very convenient to human. We can see that it's Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, but a computer prefers to have the kind of date I've just shown you. So we can just turn this date into a real date. I mean, not a real, but a date that will have the format we're interested in. So let's copy this date inside this new date. So now it's this date, but this is not what we want. We want to use something that is very, very useful when you work with date, is to use the ISO format to ISO string. So we can convert, oh, this is nothing. This comes from an extension, a Chrome extension I have. So don't pay attention to this. I will remove it. So you can see that when you take this form of date and you pass it to this new date, we create a new instance of a date. We pass it this date to create a date that is based on this January 17th, and we turn into an ISO string. What we get is exactly the format I've just shown you. It's year, day, month, day, T to separate the hour, and then we have hour, minutes, seconds. So you see, as this is a string, you can even split it. So if now you split on the T, on the uppercase T, look at what you get. You get this date and this hour. And as we don't care about the hour, we can simply just retrieve this date. And be careful, in computer science, we don't count like this, 1, 2, 3. We very often count 0, 1, 2, 0. This is weird, but this is how it works, and you can see it there. So you can see this is an array, and it has two elements. Element number 0, which is the date, element number 1, which is the hour. So now, if you want to, you can, once you split it, this string in two, you see, on the T, so you decide to split this. I'll remove it. So you decided to split this date on the T. You got an array of two strings, and we are interested in this one. So now we can do is take the first one with this notation with the square brackets. So now it will give us this date, and if we were interested in the hour, we would use 1 here. So this is how you use two ISO string to turn this date that we created with new date to make it this kind of date. And then as it's a string, you can split it using split, and you can split it on the T. And then to retrieve the first element of the array, which is the date, you simply use this array notation. So we decide to take the first element, which is element 0. It's very weird, but it's the way it works programming languages, in most programming languages. And when you want the second element, you use 1. So 0 is the first element, 1 is the second element. And if we had, say, the red, fox, and Fanny, if you split here on, if you just split it on space, you see if you want element number 3, you would use 2 instead of 3 because you started at 0. So it's very important to get used to using this split and to be able to cast a date to an ISO string. So it ends up being something that like this, that is very then easy to compare to another date that has the same format. It's way easier to compare this date than this date that starts with Tuesday, January 17th. It's human friendly, but remember that as programmers, we need to make also things that are computer friendly.